Well, the United States was the first country to build nuclear weapons, and it's still the only country that's ever used them in war. Since then, we've produced over 70,000 nuclear warheads, more than any other nation in history. And today, we're spending nearly $100 billion a year just to maintain and upgrade those weapons, part of a nearly $900 billion Pentagon budget. Ben Cohen from Ben & Jerry's says it's time to stop funding war and start funding the American dream. He's launched a new campaign called Up in Arms, backed by former generals, intelligence officers, and peace activists, demanding we cut the Pentagon's bloated budget and reinvest in things that actually help people. To show just how absurd our nuclear stockpile has become, watch this.
Let me show you something. Here's one BB. That represents the nuclear bomb that we dropped on Hiroshima. And now what I'd like to do is demonstrate the size of our current nuclear arsenal. That was 50,000 BBs, enough to kill everybody on Earth. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Ben Cohen joins us now to talk about the campaign, the money, and what it'll take to finally rein in on the war machine. Ben, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for playing that clip. You know, it's interesting. I just heard that clip was banned from TikTok.
What?
That's correct. Because it showed what actually happens when you drop a nuclear bomb. It showed pictures of victims. I mean, it's just kind of amazing to me that no problem showing all this gore and people's throats being slit and, arms getting separated if it's fiction. But if it's real, somehow Americans are not allowed to see. I guess for TikTok, the world is not allowed to see the results of what the United States is doing with my money and in my name.
Yeah. Yeah, it's outrageous. And right now, we are closer to nuclear war than I think we've ever been as of today. I mean, it just feels like we're just marching right into it. And the Pentagon, the budget. What did you think when they announced that the budget was going to increase to $1 trillion? $1 trillion.
Just absurd and indicative of the stranglehold that the military industrial congressional complex has on our country and on our society, and how Congress has lost its heart and its mind and has thereby sold out the soul of America to weapons manufacturers and war profiteers. It's
One
just
thing,
all about money.
One thing that I like, when I went to the website Up in Arms, which is the campaign that you've recently launched alongside some others, one thing that really stood out to me on the website was the phrase, I don't know if I have the exact phrase, but it was something along the lines of the budget is like a morality. It's like a showcasing of your morality, right? It's like a reflection of your morality. I mean, you could see what a country stands for based on their budget, and our budget is just all war.
It is amazing. I mean, for most of my lifetime, the war budget was 50% of the entire discretionary budget. Then they went and added the Department of Homeland Security, which was strange to me because I always thought that was the purpose of the Pentagon.
Right.
Pentagon budget is supposed to be supposedly for defense. But in reality, the Pentagon budget is for offense. The Pentagon budget is for fighting wars all around the world. And that's what it's positioned to do. That's why the United States has 800 military bases all around the world. Uh, when I was growing up, I heard the U.S. has a lot of overseas military bases. I figured, well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what countries do. They have overseas military bases, but it turns out that the U.S. has over 800, and the country that has the next most is like eight, has
Yeah.
eight of them. I mean, the policy written in black and white of the United States is to control the rest of the world through military and economic force.
Yeah.
So anyhow, what I was saying was, so the Pentagon budget used to be 50%. Then you add in the increases from Trump, and then you add in the Department of Homeland Security, and then you add in the Veterans Administration, which is essentially a retirement program for people who had served in the Pentagon and a program to take care of our war wounded. And put those three together, and it's 75% of the entire discretionary budget. And that's why you can't afford a house. You don't have health care. I mean, if you try to have health care, a lot of people get bankrupt. You go into medical bankruptcy. It's why our school budgets are never funded. It's why child care is unaffordable. It's why we keep poisoning kids with lead. We know how to fix the problem with poisoning kids with lead, but the country has made a decision to build more bombs instead.
I want to show this. This is when you guys unveiled Up in Arms. You also showed this this structure. This is to represent. This is the budget, the military budget, but only to represent the nukes, right? This is the budget for just the nukes and only the nukes. So imagine. So that's $100 billion. Is that what that is meant to represent? $100 billion, and yet the Pentagon budget is now 10 times that size. So that's just. Just look at this guy again. I mean, walking around this thing. So that's the side. There's the guy. You see him walking around. So this thing's huge, and this is to represent what $1 billion, $100 billion actually looks like if you were to stack it all up.
In $100 bills. That's
in
correct.
$100 bills. Wow. So just imagine if it was like in ones. I mean, this is just crazy. That's how much they're spending on just the nukes alone. And just imagine. Tell us, what are the things that we could do? I mean, one of the important points of this launch of Up in Arms is to say we could, if we took half this budget and spent it on other things, then we'd actually be able to have nice things without even raising taxes or adding any costs whatsoever. I mean, this is just money that we Americans aren't seeing at all because the government takes it and they spend it on building nukes and building military bases and warmongering all around the world. What are the types of things you think we could spend that money on instead?
School budgets. Every time my local school budget tries to get passed, they can't pass it because people are fed up with paying so much money in taxes. If we weren't buying all those nukes, we could instead use that money for our school budgets. It used to be that, the American dream was about owning your own home. And now people have kind of given up on that. It's not accessible financially. If we we just take part of that money and use it for helping people with a down payment or reducing interest rates, then people could actually afford a home of their own. And you got two people working in order for a family to afford to live, but the cost of childcare kind of makes it so that you barely make any more money having two people working. And again, I'm not talking about stuff that is like pie in the sky or La La Land or Utopia. I mean, those are the things that other countries other developed countries provide for their people because they're not blowing it all on $1 trillion Pentagon budget.
Right. What do you think it is? I mean, look, Ben, you're Ben from Ben and Jerry's, so we can assume that you got a lot of money. Right? I mean, we all ate a lot of ice cream. We all ate a lot of Ben and Jerry's. We all had our favorite. Cherry Garcia was mine. You definitely could be off in retirement, by the way, right now, like sitting on some beach, just gobbling down Cherry Garcia. But I mean, I applaud you for actually, I mean, you've been an activist. You recently were arrested because you were yelling during the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. when he was testifying, or he was, I don't know, is it called testifying? There was a hearing, I guess, and he was talking, and you stood up and started talking about how we're killing kids with war, killing kids with taking away funding for the things that they need. You ended up arrested. You could be sitting on a beach eating Cherry Garcia, right? You could be doing all of this. Or what is your favorite? Have you ever said what your favorite flavor is? What is it? Just so I know.
Well, I kind of like Chubby Hubby.
Chubby Hubby, okay.
Peanut butter-filled pretzels.
Yeah, that's a good one too. I mean, you know, they're all great. I mean, how do you pick? It's like choosing your favorite child, Ben, right?
Exactly.
But okay, so we can assume that you're quite wealthy, and for us little people, we think that the issue of the reason why there's so much money that's being spent on war is because the wealthy class is influencing the political system with a lot of high dollar donations. They're getting in there and they're getting their voice. They're essentially able to buy the agendas that they want. And maybe that's simplifying it. Have you tried to buy your agenda? I mean, have you tried? Just like the opposite. Like, what if enough of us got together and we did the opposite of what the war machine does, right? And we're like, okay, we're going to buy peace. Because if you guys can if war can be bought, what if we could just buy peace? I don't know. Is there a way to do this, do you think?
I've certainly thought about it. I certainly don't have enough money to do that. You know, I think that I've also thought that, you know, in the long term, there's a lot of money to be made through peace. But in the short term, there's not. And, you know, the big money, they're all about short term. And so the weapons manufacturers and the war profiteers, they're giving gobs of money to Congress, and Congress votes the way the money tells them to vote. And, you know, in terms of now with Gaza, AIPAC has become, I believe, the largest political donor this last cycle.
Yeah.
And they're getting what they want.
Or if not even AIPAC, it's just those who are pro-Israel, like Miriam Adelson. I don't think she's AIPAC specifically, but clearly has the same agenda.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, you know, and then on top of that, you know, it's interesting, these weapons manufacturers, they used to hide the fact that in order to keep the money flowing for the weapons which are overpriced and underperforming, they would make sure that a part of a particular weapon system, a part of every weapon system, is made in every congressional district in the country. And so if Congress says, well, we want to get rid of that system because it's underperforming, it's overpriced, it's making our soldiers more vulnerable, you can't do it, because then they get all this pushback from every congressperson in the country. So they used to try to keep that a secret, but now they're proud of it, and it's out in the open. And you know, they're clear that our economy is based on making weapons, and you know, that's a horrible thing from
That is
a moral, spiritual perspective. We certainly, that there's no reason why that has to be our major industry. We could be making more solar collectors. We could be making more wind turbines. We could be making, high-speed trains. There, we and the reality is that, uh, well, yeah, when the government puts money into weapons manufacturers, it creates jobs. But the reality is that the government would create way more jobs if they put the money into education or
Yeah.
healthcare or even into tax cuts. That creates more employment.
What are the chances? Well, tell us exactly the goal of this campaign. What are you guys going to do? What are you aiming? Are you trying to get people involved in some way? Or is it like tell us more about this campaign, Up in Arms.
Sure. The first goal of the campaign is to help people to understand how the government is spending our money. The second goal is to help people to understand how much we could have, how we could meet all of our day-to-day needs, all of the things that people really care about in their everyday lives, that we have enough money to pay for that. I mean, what what's what always drives me crazy is that, you know, Congress people, politicians, they never really talk about uh, war and the Pentagon budget. They just kind of pass it, and they talk a lot about how much they care about kids, how much they care about education, how much they care about an educated workforce, how much they care about keeping us all healthy, and but so they talk a lot about that, but they don't give it very much money. It's minimal. And
Right.
when advocates for kids or healthcare or education, when they go to Congress and try to advocate for that with their Congress people, what the Congress people say is, "Oh man, I really really care about kids. This is my biggest concern, but I'm just sorry, we just don't have any money."
Right.
And it's a lie. We have all the money we need. They're just spending it on killing people instead of helping people to live.
Yeah. What are the chances, do you think, that we can turn this around? I mean, you bring up a good point that if these weapons manufacturers have ensured that it's very difficult for Congress people to vote to slash the budgets and essentially shut them down. Because of course their narrative is they go to the congressperson, they say, look, if we slash the budget, you're going to lose American jobs. Like, people in your district are going to lose their jobs because we have them manufacturing this XYZ thing. So that's going to be a problem. We got to keep the jobs going. So they make these arguments and Congress people say, okay, yeah. I mean, so what's realistically, it feels like a lost cause. It almost feels like, I mean, I don't even know historically examples of when countries have had the Roman Empire, I guess, but that was a very slow decline when it finally stopped being a warmongering empire. That wasn't something that just happened overnight and the people got what they wanted, right? It was a very slow trickling where they just realized, okay, we can't keep this up here, we can't keep this up here, and it took hundreds of years. I mean, we don't have hundreds of years. I'd like to see this ending now, but I don't know if there's an example besides serious revolution when people finally were able to get their governments, like the Scandinavian nations. How did they get from being, Viking warmongers, let's say, to where they are today, where they take care of themselves, they take care of their people, they're not warmongering around the world. I mean, they're slightly changing a little bit right now, and they've slightly kind of gotten a bit more into it with joining NATO, and I think they've been infiltrated a bit, but how do we get to that? I mean, I just don't know. I feel at times at a loss on this. I don't know how we get there.
Well, what we need is a political revolution. And that's what Bernie Sanders' campaign was about. And he came very close to getting the Democratic nomination.
Yeah.
If the DNC had not put their thumb on the scales, I have no doubt that he would have gotten the nomination and that he would have won the election. Because what people understand is that our government is broken,
Yeah.
not serving the needs of our people. And Trump was pretty much saying the same thing that Bernie was saying. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
the difference is that Bernie meant it. Trump was just saying whatever he thought he needed to say in order to get a bunch of votes. And so, I think the population saw that, well, our choice is the status quo, which sucks. I'm getting screwed. I've been getting screwed for years and years and years. Or Trump, who's not the status quo, and maybe it would be better. But they did not have a choice of voting for a guy who really meant it.
Yeah.
So I do believe that there is a tremendous potential constituency of voters for a politician who has Bernie's agenda, which is essentially let's meet the needs of our people and let's not be focused on making corporations and rich people richer. And that it's not a zero-sum game.
Mm-hmm.
That in terms of how America relates to other countries, it's not that, well, it's dog eat dog. We need to win. We need to dominate what's going on right now. I mean, America is 5% of the world population,
Yeah.
and we're trying to control the entire rest of the world. The rest of the world doesn't really like it. It's not what you would call democratic. So what's going on now is there's a transition from the unipolar world. The U.S. runs the whole show, all in its own self-interest. I used to think that, entities like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, I used to think that those were real international institutions, but they're not. They're controlled by the United States. The so-called rules-based or international order is the rules that are set by the United States for the benefit of the United States, and which ends up screwing the whole rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
There is another option, which is relating to the world in a way that helps people. I mean, for 20% of the Pentagon budget, you could meet all those needs I talked about at home, and you could also provide food self-sufficiency for the whole rest of the world. It's amazing how much you can buy for $1 billion once you take it out of the Pentagon.
Yeah.
I mean, I have an illustration here. It's a box of Cheerios. So, there was that recent military parade.
Mm-hmm.
It cost about $45 or $50 billion. That's a lot of money. Well, I'm sorry, $1 million, $45 or $50 million. So if you look at the Pentagon budget as this box of Cheerios, the amount of money that was spent on that military parade, $50 million, is the equivalent of 1/10 of one Cheerio.
Oh, geez. Wow. Yeah, it is wasteful. We're making enemies everywhere we go, it seems. It does feel like, I know right now there is this thinking that we're heading into this war with Iran because of Israel. And I know Israel definitely wants this war with Iran. But I also, especially as I was reading up on your Up in Arms campaign, I was thinking, actually, I think the United States being just like I mentioned in the beginning, the first country to build the nukes, the first country to drop the nukes, when you have a weapon like that, just like we do with our fighter jets, right? We're really protective of our fighter jet technology. We want to keep that because it's ours. We want to have the leg up. And it's a problem that other nations in the world have gained the same amazing technology of nuclear weapons. To be able to threaten anybody and everybody with a nuclear weapon is a major power flex. And the fact that other nations have the ability to do the same thing is problematic for the United States. So the U.S., it almost feels like the U.S. doesn't want Iran to have a nuke more because the U.S. wants to maintain that hegemony. It's more about, well, we don't want any other nations to be able to undermine our position in the world, undermine our authority, undermine our position. And we try to, of course, but it's too late because a bunch of other countries have nukes, which is a problem. And we would love for everybody to denuclearize. But I think that a lot of the agenda of the United States, as we've seen with the warmongering, it's easy to blame on other countries and their agendas. And I do think they have a large sway, but a huge sway. And I think the largest sway is the U.S. wanting to maintain hegemony, military hegemony.
I think that is absolutely the problem. And that's why the U.S. has all those military bases overseas. And that strategy that the U.S. has to be the biggest bully on top of the hill is a very, very expensive strategy.
Yeah.
It creates an arms race, and the arms race is a race to the bottom. We keep on spending a higher and higher percentage of our budget on the military because we need to be the king of the hill. And what's the sense? I mean, I think, I don't remember whether it was Eisenhower or Martin Luther King who said that the problem in defense is understanding how much you can spend protecting yourself from without before you destroy yourself from within.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. We're destroying ourselves from within. And I think we're destroying ourselves from within morally and spiritually. And what we're seeing in terms of all these shootings and mass shootings is people just following what our government is modeling. Mm-hmm. If there's something you don't like, be violent. If there's something you don't like, make war. And, for regular old people, they don't have bombs, they got guns.
Right.
And so there's something you don't like, be violent.
Good point. Really good point. What can people do now with Up in Arms? Should they sign up? Is there something, what's the call to action there?
Yep. Go on to the website. There's a section where you can put in your name and your email address. We're not going to overload you. We're just going to let you know when there's something you can actually do.
Okay.
Either nationally or in the area in which you live. And the idea is to create a constituency, a whole group of people that understand that we can have an America which is fully defended and an America which really works for everyday people.
Yeah.
And says that and makes it so that the American dream is accessible again.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do, is create this constituency. And once you've got a big enough block, then you've got politicians who want to get elected, who realize, if I support that, I'm going to get elected.
I think that's what it boils down to at this point. I don't think we're going to have enough money to defeat the military-industrial complex and their lobbying and their donations to Congress. But like you mentioned, with Bernie Sanders, massive turnout, massive support. The DNC totally did him dirty. And even with Trump, the people that voted for Trump, you've got people on both sides of the aisle who voted for ending endless wars. That is what people were voting for. A lot of Trump's constituents voted for him to do that. And they're angry that that's not happening. A lot of people that were his friends and fans, they're very upset that it looks like we're marching into another endless Middle Eastern conflict. And that is not what people voted for. So I think the populace, the voters are turning on that. The voters don't want any more of this. The voters are fed up. And that is what it's going to have to take, I think. And because look, all the lobbying money in the world, you can take all the donations in the world, but it won't do you any good if no one votes for you because you're a warmonger. So it really does take, I think, the voting population to say, that's it. We're not going to vote for this anymore. And you're not going to dupe us anymore with it. We will clear you all out. And, I think if Trump goes into this war with Iran, we are going to see the midterms are going to come calling, and it's not going to be good for Republicans. I think they're going to get hammered in the midterms because their own voting base won't turn out. Their voting base will sit at home because they do not want to vote for war. And that's what they were voting against. So I think that's the only option really is to, like you said, make our voices heard, ensure that we let it be known you will not get elected if you take this position. And that's, I think, the only way that we could do it, Ben. Ben Cohen, thank you so much for being here. We do have the link down below to Up in Arms, also to your Twitter account for people to follow you there, or X, I guess is what it's called these days. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for all of the great work that you've done. And like I said, you could just be sitting on a beach enjoying some ice cream or in the woods in Vermont enjoying ice cream, wherever it is you like to sit. You could be doing that. And instead, you have been very vocal, very much out there. And you are very, very much appreciated, not just for the ice cream, but also for your activism. So thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, Kim. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to working on this together.
Hey guys, thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show, which you could check out Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. See you there.